Hello, children. Welcome to another session of Intermediate First Year English. And today we shall look at a prose section. Lesson number 7, Father, Dear Father. This particular prose is written by Raj Kinger. Raj Kinger writes for the press. Father, Dear Father is an article published in the English daily The Hindu. I hope you are aware of the newspaper The Hindu. Well, coming to this particular prose section, it is an excellent thought-provoking commentary written by Raj Kinger on the present education system. It inspires parents to think of their child's precious childhood. It is personality that is more important than ranks and grades. But our system demands good number from a child, not in terms of personality. He doesn't want us to show the personality. Hence, a child is not well exposed to the outer world, and he or she might not be able to develop a true and complete personality. So, coming to the story, this particular prose is about a student. His name is Rahul. Rahul is a schoolboy. He is the class topper. His first rank slips to the second. Admitting his guilt, he writes a letter to his father. So, in short, we can say that it's a son's open letter to his father. Here is a letter written by a boy to his father about what he thinks of his education and the kind of education he is really interested in. The writer strongly denounces, that is, he completely disagrees, the rote learning, that is, mugging up the subject, saying that what he learns gives him no practical exposure to the real world. That is, whatever he's learning in his textbook is not practically implemented in his day-to-day life. He is especially critical on the emphasis placed on the examination, marks, and ranks. That is, he is not very keen about the marks and the ranks. So, when you see in the opening of this particular story, or rather letter, we can see it talks about, or he writes about his relationship with his father. So, it basically deals with father and son's relationship. The letter writer Rahul's father is angry because he has obtained the second rank in his class. Rahul always used to get a first rank, but this time he got a second rank, and father was not really happy with this particular performance. Instead of the first rank, he scored second rank. The letter is written by the son. So father wrote a letter telling him to concentrate more on his academics. So in response to that, Rahul also writes a letter to his father. So the letter is written by the son, that is Rahul, in response to his father's disappointment. And what was the reason for the disappointment of the father, children? It was that he slipped his rank by 1 mark. The father and son in the letter do not agree with their worldview. That is, both of them have a different notion of life, examinations, and studies. They don't agree with each other on this particular topic. So Rahul, the boy, loves life as natural as possible, while his father enjoys a complicated life. Father was not very happy with the boy's approach to life. He believes, that is, Rahul believes, that education should give a feel of life to the learners and enable them to live a complete life. That is, he wants a carefree life and he wants to enjoy what he's studying, which is not happening at that moment. But if you see father's view about this, father believes in high score and cannot compromise in it. That is, he always wants Rahul to be first in the class. He wants always to see his son as a topper. He believes that money is very important. He doesn't trust his son, but he trusts his teachers. Now let's look at what Rahul's beliefs are. Rahul believes in simple life and a flexible going. He believes that peace of mind and happiness is important. He tells his father that the overemphasis on his studies has taken away all enjoyment from his childhood. That is, the pressure that was put on the academics. That is, he was always insisted to score good marks. And this had stolen away his childhood. He could not really enjoy his childhood. He says that education doesn't seem to make people happy. He says that, the present education system is not making them happy at all. He wants his father to be his friend, philosopher, and guide. This is where we can see that the relationship with his father was not really very close. Rahul is not really very close to his father, and this is very keenly or clearly said in this statement when he says that he wants his father to be a friend, philosopher, and guide. That means he was not very close to his father till then. His imagination wants to fly like a rocket to Jupiter and Mars. That is, he wants to think, he wants to be creative in his education. Now, if you see in the next later part of the story, Rahul talks about his grandparents. He talks about his grandparents and their outlook towards life, like how they have spent their life and what is their definition of life and how they led their life. Okay, Rahul's grandfather used to speak of a carefree and beautiful childhood. Whenever Rahul was with his grandfather would tell him stories about his childhood. And he had a different kind of childhood, unlike Rahul. So his grandfather used to have a carefree and beautiful childhood. He was not worried about his academics. He was never worried about his grades and ranks. And there is nobody who insisted him to score top marks. So he also talks about his days when he spent plucking mangoes and guavas from their orchards and of picnics on the banks of the river where men cooked mouth-watering food, of playing marbles and other games. From his talk, it was evident that studies were only secondary for our survival. In his opinion, life was to be lived, enjoyed, and experienced. So this was the notion of Rahul's grandfather of what life is. He felt that life is meant to be enjoyed and lived. And he completely enjoyed his life. He enjoyed his childhood. Not that he did not study. Along with the studies, he also enjoyed life. And this was not happening with Rahul. So Rahul had always found his grandfather in the right place. Rahul felt that his grandfather was very much correct. He was a man who believed in simplicity in sharp contrast to Rahul's father. So grandfather's views of life are totally in contrast to what Rahul's father thought of. Okay. And then if you see, Rahul's father always believed in getting good marks and then, getting a good job and earning a lot of money. But if you see grandfather's life and the way he is leading his life, it was not so. Rahul asked this logical question to remind his father that his grandfather's life had not been a joke but one worth living. So here, Rahul is questioning his father that, was grandfather really not leading a good life, or was the way grandfather was leading his life, was it not really the right way to lead a life? So here he is questioning his father about, living and enjoying life or just securing marks and leading a comfortable life. He asked his father if the world turned topsy-turvy in just 70 years. So here he is again posing a question to his father, saying that did everything change in the world over a period of 70 years? Mind you, children, he uses the word 70 years because grandfather is 70 years old now. 70 years refers to the grandfather's age. That means, did the way of life or the notion of life change over this period of time? This is what was the question of Rahul to his father. It is significant because during this 70 years, grandfather had acquired a lot of experience that shaped a philosophy that Rahul considers ideal. That is, grandfather leads a very good life. Okay, if his life is an ideal life, then why is it that, his belief of life and the way of life is not adapted by Rahul's father? And why is it that he doesn't want his son also to live a carefree and a good life? Now Rahul talks about his grandmother. So Rahul's grandmother was not very much educated. That is, she could only read and write, but she doesn't have any degree. whereas Rahul's mother is a well-educated lady who's also an employee. So, if you see, the older woman was a happy one, though she was not well educated. She could only read and write, or she would rather manage reading and writing. She had a very contented life, that is, a very happy and satisfied life. Whereas, if you see Rahul's mother, who's very educated, well educated rather, she is always in stress. She is always high strung, tense, and nervous. That is, she is always under work pressure. So now Rahul asks a very thought provoking question to his father. He says, if literacy is the harbinger of restlessness, fear, and frustration, let me explain it to you, children. Rahul asks a very thought provoking question, as I told you, which says that, getting educated and getting good job, is it a beginning for all restlessness and unhappiness in this world? So this is what are some of the questions that are asked by Rahul to his father in his letter. And now he comes into the education system, which he is not really happy with. So he talks about problems with education system. That is the problems that he is facing with the subjects, or rather the way he was taught in the school. So he explains his father that whatever he learns in school has no practical application. That is, whatever he is learning, he is not implementing it, or rather, he is not using them in his day to day life. He narrates the incident of his biology teacher not being able to help him with a practical science related problem. So I will tell you what the science related problem was. One day, Rahul goes to his biological teacher, and he just asks her that he has a rose plant with him, and these days it is having pest, and how does he get rid of it? His biology teacher, she says that it's a completely irrelevant question because it is not really concerned with the curriculum or the syllabus that she's been dealing with, and she just brushes it away, saying that why don't you go and ask the gardener? He will give you a solution to this. So Rahul did not like this answer that was given by his teacher. The teacher did not think Rahul's question's relevancy in her class, so she asked him to approach the gardener for advice. The teacher had a low character, as she was of the opinion that out of syllabus questions do no good in a class. She felt that, answering this question would be a waste of time, so she did not answer it. From the way she responded to Rahul, go ask the guy who keeps gardening things, reveals her crossness and irritability. That is, she feels that, this is no way concerned with the subject. And Rahul really got offended when the teacher did not answer this question. So again, in connection with this, Rahul also gives a few examples, or he talks about Rahul's father and his friends. He also gives the example of his father's friends and his father himself to support his stance. And what was his stance? That whatever we are learning is not really applicable in our day to day life. That is, learning whatever we are learning, that is, whatever subjects we are learning or the things that we are learning at school, they are not really used in our day to day life. And here he says that none of these people use what they have learned. And he gives the example of Pythagoras' theorem or Newton's law of gravity in schools. Neither his father is using any of them in his departmental store, nor his doctor friend is using all these things in his day-to-day clinic. So Rahul explains that he lost the first rank owing to a disagreement with his teacher over a minor point in English grammar. So now Rahul explains to his father why he got less marks and what was the reason for the slipping of his rank from first rank to second rank. He says that it was in grammar that he lost mark. And he says that he was in disagreement with his teacher. And what was it? It was just a grammar point in which he thought the answer would be something, and the teacher was not at all agreeing to that. So disagreement with his teacher over a minor point in English grammar and criticizes the education system which curbs independent thinking and encourages blind adherence to what the teacher says. He says that his teacher was an adamant person. So here he is criticizing the rote learning method because the teacher said that the answer was wrong because it was not given that way in the book rather than explaining him why the answer was wrong. So Rahul thought that, the teacher was adamant, that is, she's very stubborn because she could not clarify why the answer written by Rahul was wrong. Now Rahul talks about his own opinion or what kind of education he wants. He says that, he wants education that would help him to learn by doing things. He wants a practical way of doing things. He doesn't want to sit in the four walls of a classroom and learn things just by hearting them. He wanted to try everything, explore everything, and learn everything. So practical education matters more than theoretical. In his opinion, there is no good in scoring high marks on one side, on the other, being able to apply theoretical knowledge into practice. Classroom knowledge should come hand in day to day life. So he says that whatever we read from the books, we should be able to implement them. We should be able to relate them to our day to day life. We should be able to do them. If you see the picture, children, this picture speaks a lot. You can see a bird which has learned how to fly, but it has never tried flying. So would the bird be able to fly in its future? No. So this is what is Rahul wants us to know, or this is what Rahul is trying to tell his father that, I am learning everything from the books, but I am not really doing anything in practice. So he wants a practical experience, a hands-on experience that would help him to lead a life where all his knowledge could be applicable. So when you come to the end of the letter, what Rahul has written to his father, you can see that he says his father's eyes never see his anguish. That is, his father only noticed that he slipped his rank, but he could not understand the pain that he also had for scoring less marks. This letter is never meant to be posted to his father, but was his method to deal with his overburdened heart. So, Rahul never posted this letter to his father, and he did not write this letter to post it to his father. It was only, this was the only way in which he could actually speak his heart out. So, he put his heart in the form of words in a letter where he wanted to explain to his father the pain that is going through due to this education system and because of gazing him in terms of marks. It is not all arteries and muscles, which means that, you are made of emotions and feelings. Here, Rahul wanted his father to know his emotions, his feelings. He wants him to understand his ideas or understand his mind, the struggle that is going on in his life. It feels too. It highlights the defects in the mindsets of parents, learners, teachers, and the government bodies. It sets all to a new way of thinking. So, dear children, this particular letter, which is written by Rahul, it is related to all the learners, right? So, it is an appeal to all the parents who actually pressurize their children to score good marks, to be the topper of the class without actually relating what they are learning. So this is what it is an appeal to everybody that we should change our mindset. Getting good marks or scoring mere marks is not criteria of education, of schooling, of your complete outlook of education should change. That is, you should gauge your performance in terms of knowledge. Knowledge is more important because if you gain knowledge along with marks, I don't say that you should not get good grades. Getting good grades happens when you understand things. And Rahul insists and he appeals to all the learners, teachers, and parents that, the system of education should actually focus on practical education. That is, we need to have a practical, that is learning by doing. We need to learn things by doing so that, you gain good knowledge and you can actually implement them in your day-to-day life. So it sets all to a new way of thinking. That is, he actually makes everybody to think in this angle. And I'm sure that this has paved way to the new system of education, which we are going to experience very soon. మీరు కనుక చూస్తే ఈ లెసన్ లో రాహుల్ తన ఫాదర్ కి లెటర్ రాశాడు. దేని గురించి రాశాడు? ప్రెసెంట్ సిస్టమ్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది కేవలం బట్టి కొట్టి మనము ఎగ్జామ్స్ రాసి మార్క్స్ తెచ్చుకోవడం గురించి మాత్రమే ఇన్సిస్ట్ చేస్తుంది అని చెప్తున్నాడు. అయితే రాహుల్ కి అలాంటి సిస్టమ్ ఆఫ్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇష్టం లేదు. తను ఏదైతే నేర్చుకుంటున్నాడో దాన్ని తన లైఫ్ లో ఇంప్లిమెంట్ చేసేటట్టు ఉండాలని అనుకుంటున్నాడు. అండ్ ఇంకా ఏం చెప్తున్నాడు? పేరెంట్స్ ని, టీచర్స్ ని, అందరినీ కూడా ఈ మార్క్స్ బట్టి జడ్జ్ చేయడం మానేసి నాలెడ్జ్ ని బట్టి జడ్జ్ చేయడాన్ని ప్రోత్సహించమని చెప్తున్నాడు. అందరినీ కూడా ఈ లెటర్ ఏదైతే ఉందో మనందరినీ ఆలోచింపజేస్తుంది. దేని గురించి? ఇప్పుడు ఉన్న ప్రెసెంట్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ గురించి. ప్రతి తల్లిదండ్రులు వాళ్ళ పిల్లలు అందరూ కూడా ఫస్ట్ మార్క్ రావాలని ఆలోచిస్తారు. కానీ ఫస్ట్ మార్క్ తో పాటు ఎంత నాలెడ్జ్ వాళ్ళు గెయిన్ చేస్తున్నారు అన్నది కూడా తెలుసుకోవాలి అని చెప్పి రాహుల్ చెప్తున్నాడు. రాహుల్ వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ కి లెటర్ రాశాడు, కానీ దాన్ని పోస్ట్ చేయడానికి రాయలేదు. వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ ఎప్పుడైతే తను ఒక మార్క్ తోటి ఫస్ట్ ర్యాంక్ పోగొట్టుకున్నాడని కోపంతో నువ్వు ఇంకా చదువు మీద ఎక్కువ శ్రద్ధ పెట్టాలి అని లెటర్ రాశాడో ఆ లెటర్ కి జవాబు ఇవ్వాలనుకున్నాడు, కానీ పోస్ట్ చేయాలి. వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ కి లెటర్ పంపించాలనుకోలేదు. తన ఎమోషన్స్, తన భావాలు ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవన్నీ ఒక లెటర్ రూపంలో రాశాడు. అందులో తను ఈ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ వల్ల పడుతున్న ఇబ్బంది గురించి చెప్పాడు. ఏంటి? తను ఏదైతే చదువుకుంటున్నాడో అది తన జీవితంలో ఎక్కడా కూడా ఉపయోగపడట్లేదు. ఇంకా వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్, వాళ్ళ తాతయ్య, ఇంకా నానమ్మ ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో వాళ్ళు కూడా చదువుకున్నారు. మేబీ పెద్ద పెద్ద డిగ్రీస్ తీసుకోలేదు, కానీ వాళ్ళ చదువు వాళ్ళ లైఫ్ ని ఎంతో హ్యాపీగా లీడ్ చేయడానికి యూజ్ అవుతుంది. అండ్ రాహుల్ కూడా అలాంటి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ కావాలనుకున్నాడు. ఇక్కడ తన ఎడ్యుకేషన్ సిస్టమ్ ప్రాక్టికల్ గా యూజ్ అవ్వట్లేదని చెప్పడానికి ఒక చిన్న తన లైఫ్ లో జరిగిన ఒక చిన్న సంఘటన గురించి చెప్పాడు. క్లాస్ రూమ్ ఇన్సిడెంటే అది. అదేంటి? తన బయాలజీ టీచర్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి ఏం చెప్పాడు? నా దగ్గర ఒక గులాబీ మొక్క ఉంది, దాని మీద కొన్ని పురుగులు ఉన్నాయి, అంటే పురుగు పట్టింది, దానికి ఈ మధ్య ఆల్మోస్ట్ చనిపోవడానికి దగ్గరలో ఉంది, నేను దాన్ని ఏం చేయాలి టీచర్ అని అడిగితే టీచర్ తనకి నువ్వు వెళ్ళి తోటమాలిని అడుగు, నీకు బాగా చెప్తాడు అదేంటో అని అన్నది. అయితే రాహుల్ కి ఈ ఆన్సర్ ఏమాత్రం నచ్చలేదు. తనకి ఏమనిపించిందంటే యాజ్ ఎ బయాలజీ టీచర్ తనకు అన్ని తెలిసి ఉండాలి. అంటే ఏంటి? తను ఏదైతే చదువుకుందో అది తన నిత్య జీవితంలో ఏమాత్రము తను యూజ్ చేయలేకపోతుంది. అలాంటి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ తను ఎప్పుడు కూడా కావాలనుకోలేదు. సో అలాంటి ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఎవరికి కూడా ఉండకూడదు, ప్రాక్టికల్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఉండాలి అని రాహుల్ చెప్తున్నాడు. అలాగే తల్లిదండ్రులు మార్క్స్ మాత్రమే కాకుండా నాలెడ్జ్ మీద కూడా కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ చేయాలి. అంటే పిల్లలని కేవలం మార్క్స్ మాత్రమే తేమని ఇబ్బంది పెట్టకుండా వాళ్ళు ఎంత నాలెడ్జ్ గెయిన్ చేస్తున్నారు అన్నది కూడా ఒకసారి ఆలోచించాలి అని చెప్పి చెప్తున్నాడు. సో చిల్డ్రన్, కమింగ్ టు ద క్వశ్చన్. సో హియర్ ఐ హ్యావ్ ద ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ హియర్. What does the boy think of his grandparents in his letter? You will find these questions in your textbook, children. So try to answer these questions. So I have some key points to answer this question. Take a look at them. మనకి టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇచ్చారు ఈ లెసన్ మీద. సో ఫస్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ మీకు నేను ఎలా రాయాలో చెప్తున్నాను. సిమిలర్లీ ఇలాగే మీరు కూడా అన్నిటికీ కీ పాయింట్స్ చేసుకుని ఆన్సర్ కింద రాయండి. అనోటేషన్స్ కూడా మీరు అలాగే డెవలప్ చేయొచ్చు. So what are the points that you need to cover under this question? So first is how the grandparents were. That is, they were happy and they are enjoying their life. Next, when you talk about grandfather, so grandfather was leading a carefree life. That is, tension-free life. He doesn't have any tension in his life, and he also led a very beautiful childhood. And then he talks about how his childhood was, or how he enjoyed his childhood. And he gives some anecdotes from his life. What are they? Plucking fruits from mango and guava gardens, playing marbles, gilli danda, picnics, river banks, delicious food. That means he used to have picnics on the river banks where they used to cook delicious mouth-watering food and eat. And then, most of his life was living and experiencing rather than just reading from the books. So And then coming to grandmother. So she was semi-literate. So which means that she could manage reading and writing, and she used to read all the holy books. Grandmother also is enjoying her life because she is very happy with her kitchen work and gardening. Both of them were actually her passion, and she's enjoying her passion. So, and she also used to read Bhagavad Gita and other holy books. So, dear children, so when you're asked to write this answer, these are the key points on which you need to work in order to answer this question. Similarly, there are a few more questions given in your textbook. What you need to do is you need to first read the passage or read the content in the textbook which actually is related to the answer. Make key points just like this, bullet points, and try to convert them into an answer. మీరు ఇక్కడ చూసినట్లయితే మన టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో ఈ లెసన్ తర్వాత కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ఇచ్చారు. సో ఈ క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ మీరు సొంతంగా రాయడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. సో నేను ఒకటి మీకు ఎగ్జాంపుల్ గా ఇక్కడ ఇచ్చాను. ఈ క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే వాట్ డస్ ద బాయ్ థింక్ ఆఫ్ హిస్ గ్రాండ్ పేరెంట్స్ ఇన్ హిస్ లెటర్. అంటే లెటర్ లో తన గ్రాండ్ పేరెంట్స్ గురించి ఏమని రాశాడు. మీరు చూడండి ఇక్కడ బుల్లెట్ పాయింట్స్ ఉన్నాయి. దీస్ పాయింట్స్, ఈ పాయింట్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో వీటిని మీరు ఒక ఆన్సర్ కింద కన్వర్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. లింకర్స్ అవి యూజ్ చేసుకుంటూ యూ కెన్ కన్వర్ట్ దెమ్ ఇంటూ అన్ ఆన్సర్. అదే విధంగా ఇంకా కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. ఆ క్వశ్చన్స్ మనకి టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ రిలేటెడే ఉంటాయి కాబట్టి మీరు ఒకసారి టెక్స్ట్ బుక్ లో ఆ క్వశ్చన్ కి సంబంధించిన కాంటెంట్ ఎక్కడైతే ఉందో ఆ పారాగ్రాఫ్ చదివి ఈ విధంగా బుల్లెట్ పాయింట్స్ చేసుకొని దాన్ని ఆన్సర్ కింద కన్వర్ట్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. సో హియర్ ఇస్ అన్ అసైన్మెంట్ ఫర్ యూ చిల్డ్రన్. రీడ్ ద లెసన్ అండ్ ట్రై టు ఆన్సర్ క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్ అండ్ annotations. అన్ని క్వశ్చన్ అండ్ ఆన్సర్స్ మీరు ఆన్సర్ చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నించండి. అలాగే annotations కూడా ఆన్సర్ చేయండి. So thank you children. I hope you all understood this lesson. We shall meet again with another interesting topic.